everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for logging in, whatever the case may be. Thank you for joining us here today on Out the Cage. I am your host, Frederick Cager. So today, listen, we already started. We've been talking. We had to start over like 12 times because my man, he's already.
I'm ready.
He already
I'm
on.
ready.
He already on his Chris Dizzle. Or what, I gotta get my Snoop on. Get my Izzle.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to be talking about a serious subject, but I'm someone that I'm grateful that we can talk about it, and it's not a taboo subject, and it's someone, although a serious subject.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and who you are, you
Mm-hmm.
make it a subject that can be talked about.
Absolutely.
And today we're going to be talking about living with AIDS and HIV. Our special guest today is Mr. Andy Fez. Andy was born HIV positive from his also HIV positive mother, Lynette. Lynette passed away from AIDS-related illness at the age of 26 in 1998. 20 years later, Andy created the Keeping It Positive movement, in which he uses his stand-up comedy and social media platforms to entertain, empower, and educate people about HIV and AIDS. His goal is to stop Lynette's death, his mother, from happening again to anyone else by making the discussion around HIV and AIDS to no longer be viewed as a taboo subject.
You read that so well because my finger would be under the word struggling. Like, what does that say?
You know what? It comes from years of public speaking.
Okay.
Years of public speaking.
Okay, this is years of hooked on phonics.
You know what? I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So, I appreciate you being here.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying to do this for a while because
Okay.
I know your schedule, and also he's a traveling comedian,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So it's and one of the things too that made me want to talk about this is that it appears to me that AIDS and HIV has been now it's okay. So we don't we don't talk about it like we used to.
Yeah.
It's swept under the rug,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like it's not getting the attention
Absolutely.
that it once received.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got that billboard of COVID now hitting that #1 billboard on the charts.
Yeah.
But, HIV, it's still there. It still exists. But for whatever reason, people acting like that it doesn't exist anymore.
Why do you think that is? I'm curious.
I think it's not enough media attention. I think it's a lot of, people, I guess, so to speak, living in the closet, as far as like they might be diagnosed, but they're not talking about it. Because we've been in this society where we gotta shh so many times, but it's like, why are we being quiet about this?
Now, I'm not going to play with you. I'm from that generation.
I get it.
I'm from a little older than you.
Yeah.
And I asked you, could I tell this story?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you this story.
Do it.
This is the truth. Because let me tell you how we used to think.
Mhm.
I used to say this out loud. Because, like, this is bad. You got to understand. So, for me, in my community, it hit early 90s,
Sure.
mid 90s, late 80s.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can remember, and what made it such a bomb, in my opinion, because I don't think people really realize this, because in the African American, in the inner city,
Mhm.
we had crack and AIDS.
Yep.
That was hitting. A lot of people don't realize
Yep.
that, and it was hitting at the same time.
Yeah.
And you could tell the difference in people's. You saw people's bodies transform.
Yeah. Yeah.
You saw it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And man, all right. So true story. When I gave my life to Christ,
Mm-hmm.
like early 90s, mid
Mhm.
90s, I was like, you know what? I need to go and get an AIDS test. I did a couple things in my life.
Sure.
Go get an AIDS test.
Sure.
So you got to understand, this is new, fresh, because magic is just.
Yeah.
So I go down to the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I get my AIDS test. They said, okay, we'll give you a call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
So I get the call. I'm talking about, I'll never forget this. I get the call.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to come down. I need to come down for
Sweating.
Like
R. Kelly at the high school prom, sweating.
What I need to come down there for?
Yeah.
Hold up, that's too proper. What I need to come down there for?
Right.
Man, I kid you not. That drive, I was, Lord, look.
Mm-hmm.
I know, so true story. I get down there, I get to the desk, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm here, just go, okay, Mr. Cage, we need you to go over there and take a seat. What I need to go and take a seat?
Everything.
So, this is a true story. I get in there, and the doctor's like, and come to find out, it was a female doctor, and she knew somebody I knew, and she starts talking to me. Oh, and blah, 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 and she's talking, I said, ma'am, I don't mean no harm.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just please give me my results?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you negative. And it was a moment,
Could have
man.
started off with that, lady.
Started off with that. It was a moment, and then
Uh-huh.
and in that time, man, we used to say this. If I found out I had HIV or AIDS, I'm just gonna move to another city.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being respectful
Sure.
because I don't want to say anything that's
No, no, no.
offensive.
It's offensive. What's that?
You know what I mean? And I mean I
Only thing that's offensive is like people's armpits. That's it for me.
that's and that was our mindset then
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and the mindset was if you do have something, go disappear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with I know a little bit of your story. Could
Yeah.
you give us your story, man?
Yeah, so I tell people all the time that it's the same way. My parents had like an on and off relationship. They was always arguing back and forth. Oh, we just gonna break up, and then they did, at one point. And so my mom, she wound up getting with this one guy. We never got this dude's name for whatever reason. But I learned this story from my mom's best friend. She said that she was always her and the girl group. They'll always be like, "Oh well, what's this dude's name? Can we ever meet him?" And my mom's all like, "Yeah, yeah, you'll meet him soon, eventually." And so what we was told was that she got with this guy. They wound up having sex. He never told her his status, and that eventually
Did he know he was positive?
we don't know for sure.
Okay.
We can only assume, but we don't know. And so down the line, they broke up. My parents got back together. My mom's best friend was on the phone when my mom got a knock on the door. It was the health department. Health department said, "Are you Lynette Cox? Cause you should go get tested." And she's like, "Wait, what? What do you mean get tested?" They told her that she was listed as a potential sex partner for this dude that had just recently passed away from AIDS.
Wow.
And so she eventually got tested, found out that she was indeed positive. However, this is the part where I tell people I don't hold any resentment because it was the early 90s, late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
People were passing away from this thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So she was scared. She didn't,
As we all were.
absolutely. And when she found out she was diagnosed, she didn't want to accept that. She was in complete denial. She wasn't taking her medicine. My grandmother told me that she looked at it as, I don't need to take medicine because I ain't sick. That's just for sick people. And in hindsight, we know that the medicine is to keep you from getting sick while you're living with this virus. Eventually, my parents did the thing to conceive me ill. And my mom knew, but she ignored it. And so it wasn't until I was 3 years old that I got a really bad cold. My grandma and my mom took me to the doctor. They ran all these tests. Couldn't figure out why I was, sick for like weeks. And then it was eventually my nurse goes, "Well, why not do an HIV test?" My mom goes, "He's 3 years old. He ain't having sex at 3. Why does he need an HIV test?" Because, that's what we thought. It was just, people having sex, and that was it. And then
So she honestly didn't understand. There was no understanding that it could be passed on.
I think she knew. I just think that she just could not believe
Complete
that.
denial.
Yeah,
Complete
that it
denial.
was her and her only child now.
Wow.
And so got tested eventually. And then it came back positive. And my grandmother looked at my mom and says, "Well, if he got HIV, what does that mean for you?" And that's when she had to tell her that she was also positive because she was holding it as a secret for a long time.
Really?
Yeah,
But I'm curious, how long do you think your mom? And I don't know if you know the details.
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure, but it was a bit of a journey. Even after I got diagnosed, my mom, being stubborn as she was,
Still didn't take a medicine.
still wasn't taking her medicine nor giving me my medicine. And so it was my cousin calling my grandma saying, "Hey, how's Andy doing with his meds?" And she goes, "Andy ain't taking no medicine. What do you mean?" She goes into my mom's room, finds duffel bags full of medication that my mom was promising that to my nurse that she was giving me. And eventually, my grandma found out about that. She gave me my meds, making sure that I was staying on my medicine. Unfortunately, though, my mom, her diagnosis turned into an AIDS diagnosis. And then within months, she was out, 26 years old, 1998.
Wow.
So that's why I teach people like how important it is, because obviously it's a very close topic. It's a very topic that for whatever reason we're sensitive about. It's like we're adults, we have sex. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We even brag about sex, but why are we not talking about the consequences
Do you think
of?
it's more sensitive in the African American community?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it's because we don't talk about health enough. I think that we are in this impervious, state of mind that nothing bad can happen to me because, but it's just like, no, we are not, invincible to these things.
I think also one of the things may be too because in the African American community, for those of you that are not black, let me tell you about the black community. It's a thing of you don't talk about
Mm-hmm.
your business.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
don't we don't put your business in and
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm built like that too.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a few people that I talk to
Yeah.
about certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's deep in our community.
Absolutely.
You don't put your business. You don't air your dirty laundry.
And listen, the first time I told comedy material, it was actually here. Well, not here. Well, not the first time, but the first time I did it here in Vegas, it was at a black lounge. I ain't gonna say their names,
Oh, yeah.
but
Don't say no name.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was majority black people, and I remember I said, "Hey y'all, my name is Andy Fez. I'm the first ever openly HIV positive born comedian," and the room went
Crickets.
silent
Crickets. I already know.
because they said, "What?
What? I can see that.
You-
Crickets.
HIV in comedy? What?"
Because we don't even. You know what? So, being I've been a pastor and I always talk about being a pastor.
Mhm.
So I've tried to have comedians
Mhm.
like we clean comedy.
Mhm.
It's hard for black people to even laugh
Yeah.
in church
Yeah.
because it's almost like we can't laugh in here.
Yeah.
So for us, we equate certain subjects
Mhm.
with. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're right.
We're not allowed to laugh about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We're not allowed. Like I just told you the story,
Mhm.
and I had to ask you, was that okay? Because I
Mhm.
know everybody can't.
Yeah.
You know what
No, totally fine with it.
I mean?
And I remember when I did the set, like I barely got any laughs. A lot of people started talking over me. And this was like very early on into the Keeping It Positive movement. And so I got off stage and I was like, all right, what is it that I can do to tweak it so that to make it? And so I've worked hard on these jokes and making sure that it's actually one funny, and then also making people when they go home afterwards they go, oh wow, I didn't even think of it like that.
You can't. I've learned this too. You can't give people a plate full of vegetables.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to give them some
Absolutely.
cake.
Absolutely.
You got to give them some Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because most of us, our psyche can't handle
Yeah.
a plate full of vegetables.
Absolutely.
So if you standing up on the stage giving people a plate full of vegetables,
Yeah.
you lose them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that took a lot. It took a lot of, and that wasn't the only one the only show that everybody was just dead quiet. It was just like, all right, every time I got off stage, whether it was a good show or a bad show, what worked, what didn't work, how do I fix this? How do I make them laugh harder? And it's just been a thing now going on 7 years where it's been working.
Now, people that somebody's watching, they may not understand. So you're a comedian.
Yes.
And you use your platform as a comedian to
Yep.
talk about HIV,
Yep.
living with HIV and
Yep.
AIDS.
AndyFedsComedy.com. That's ANDYFEDSCOMEDY.com. Sorry.
You heard? So, so I'm going with you. So what age?
Mhm.
At what age were you cognizant? Because you get diagnosed at 3,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm sure at 3 years old,
Yeah.
a baby doesn't.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what age are you cognizant of your HIV positive?
The day of my mom's funeral,
What?
when I literally
She's 26, and how old are you?
I was 5 at the time.
At 5 years old,
Yeah.
you knew?
Because watching her get sick, going from my mom was a crazy, sense of humor all over the place, the life of the party, and to watch her dwindle down to this, helpless, very tiny person, my mind was like, what's going on? And then I remember going up to that casket and seeing everybody in the room just crying. And just seeing her lying in this casket, not getting up, not smiling, not dancing, not laughing. And then it was just like, all right, something is different. And what it is, I don't know.
Mhm.
And so I remember that was basically the day that was like, let's start asking questions. So
At 5.
at 5.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was like something is not right. And I need to know why.
So did you know that it was HIV? Did you?
I did not know. I remember first my grandmother kind of taught it to me at 4 or 5-year-old. She used to say that my blood was bad or whatever, just so I can, not necessarily go to school and say, "Oh, I got HIV." But it was just, especially during that time too, where people was very discriminatory towards people with
Was it
HIV. Ryan White.
Ryan White.
Yep.
I
Yep.
remember.
And so she didn't want me to be the black Ryan White, Ryan
Right,
Black.
right.
Yeah, so it was basically trying to protect me. So it was, and I don't think to this day my grandmother can really say HIV and AIDS too much. Like she is really kind of tiptoeing around sometimes, still to this day. And so it was
back in the shy.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so it was me having to go to my doctor's appointments, and I guess she just kind of gave them the torch and say, "Please teach them," because it's hard for me too.
It's just
Because
too much for me.
yeah, she lost her her only daughter,
Yeah, I
her only
understand
child.
that.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah, so she had to really just kind of give them the reins to teach me, and they were my shout out to Lurie Children's Hospital because they were great at making sure that I understood everything.
Is your grandmother still here?
Yes, yes.
Wow. So shout out to your grandmother
Yep.
too, because that's you know what? We just did an interview with a licensed therapist, and we talked about this. Life is so much. When you're young, you think life is just black and white.
Yep.
But there's so much gray.
Absolutely.
And you got to have the context of understanding. So here this woman is. She's lost her only child.
Yep.
And now her grandchild.
Yep.
And her way of loving you was to say, I got to take you to somebody else.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And let them, because I can't do this.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just too much for me.
Absolutely. And get this too, because shout out to not great, but grandmothers that take that control.
Absolutely.
Because I was a Make-A-Wish kid at 7 years old, like 2 years after my mom passed away. Yeah.
So they were already saying you man.
Yep. Shout out to that free wish because I'm still here. Sorry, Make-A-Wish, no refunds. And so it was the medications weren't really working well. At that time, they thought that kids from 7 to 13 were not going to make it, just because they didn't have a handle on medication.
So how old were you then?
7.
So let me get this straight. So at 5, you recognize something's wrong with me.
Yep.
And then at 7, you're told, okay, you getting ready to die.
Yep.
Basically, you getting ready to die.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Still here.
How does that, as a 5-year-old, as a 7-year-old?
Yeah.
Because you got most 7-year-olds at that time, man. You're playing in the playground. Your concern is this person gonna be my friend? So you're at 7 being told you may not be here.
I didn't know.
Really?
I didn't know. I was just a normal, healthy kid. I was a big WWE fan, so my cousins and I used to always wrestle, and nobody treated me any different.
Okay.
And so I think it was more of just, all right, do we prepare for these medications to not work rather than just me die? I think it was just more of a preface to, all right, he could possibly die.
Really? So your family never treated you just number love?
No, a lot of them didn't know. A lot of them still. I mean, I remember the first day I announced the Keep It in Positive movement launch. I mentioned that my mom passed away from AIDS complications, and my family goes, "That's what it was? I didn't know."
Serious?
Yeah.
And she died in 98.
Yeah, that was 20 years.
Wow. And that gets back to what we just said about the African American family, the community.
Yeah.
We don't talk about stuff. And let me be clear, because I don't want anybody to watch this and think that we're being biased or anything.
Sure.
There are some cultural differences when it concerns different races.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just the truth of the matter. And one of the cultural differences in our community, and I'm not saying we're the only community, but I can only tell you what I've learned from being black in an African American community.
Yeah.
That because our families keep secrets.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I'm not black. I'm white, but I moved to Vegas in the sun. Just did that.
Oh man, you have. You see my face? I'm looking at you like, say what? All right, okay. I forgot he had me there.
Yeah.
But that's our community. Like my family, there are secrets, and your family. So to this day, you're telling me that after all of this, and your mom died in 98, and then you were diagnosed at 3, that's still in your family?
People didn't know.
They didn't know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It was just a giant secret. I mean, for a long time, I didn't know. I mean, it was up until maybe I was 23, 24. I think I asked my grandmother, I was like, I've always thought this entire time that she died of HIV. And me being an advocate and learning, through this advocacy journey, I didn't realize that people don't die from HIV. People
No.
die from AIDS complications, right?
Right.
And I think it was my aunt that just let me know that she died from AIDS complication. I was like, oh, what? So it blew my mind because here's this kid living with HIV the entire time, lost his mom. The majority of his life didn't have a mom, and I was not even told that, oh, it was AIDS that really took my mom out.
So, for those that don't know,
Mhm.
what is the difference
Yes.
between HIV and AIDS?
Okay. So, HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. What that means is that literally it's in the name, human immunodeficiency virus. It's a virus that attacks humans' immune system. What it does is it attaches to the white blood cell, kills the white blood cell, and then it creates more copies of it before it kills it. That attacks the immune system and keeps people from staying healthy, so you might get infections and illnesses, stuff like that. When there is not enough white blood cells to fight off that HIV virus, it creates more and more copies. So 200 or less white blood cells mean that you have an AIDS diagnosis. It's still technically HIV, it's just now at the stage of AIDS. And what that means is that now your body is even more prone to getting even sicker with flus, fevers, pneumonia, COVID, and some of these things can be like fatal for people with the immune system that beaten down.
So, in essence, and this is from, and let me say, brother, if I say anything, ask
Sure.
anything, it's in ignorance.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And let me say this too: anybody who's watching, ignorance is not a bad word.
Yeah,
Ignorance just simply means I don't know.
absolutely.
So, in essence, what I'm hearing from you is that AIDS, basically, it gets to the point where the body has now gotten to the point where it can't fight off
Right,
disease or anything.
right,
So that's why you hear a person pass from AIDS complications.
right,
Okay.
right. And so here's the thing, though. We have, I always call it, well, it's called antiretroviral therapies. For anybody that don't know, that means medicine. And so what that medicine does is that it lowers the amount of HIV virus. Even with an AIDS diagnosis, you can go lower the amount of virus to what you call undetectable. So even with the AIDS diagnosis, you could go from AIDS to HIV to undetectable status.
Through the medicine.
Through the medicines.
Wow, that's great.
However,
Okay.
a lot of advocates are working with the CDC because we're living in a very what's the word I'm looking for? Antique ideology. Because on record, it will always say that you have an AIDS diagnosis, even if you had an AIDS diagnosis but are undetectable. So what we're trying to do is tell CDC and whoever, we got to change that, because somebody with an AIDS diagnosis, if they're taking their medicine and they're undetectable, how is it still an AIDS diagnosis if your immune system is strong, if it's healthy, if it's not bothering you?
So in essence, a person diagnosed with AIDS, they're taking their medication.
Mhm.
Medication now helps to the point the AIDS diagnosis has digressed
Mm-hmm.
to HIV and
Right.
even digressed to the point of being
undetectable.
undetected.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so now what I hear you saying, and help me out,
Mhm.
the reason why that may want to be done is because it can be discriminatory.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm just in it can be.
Yeah.
So have you ever, and I gotta ask, have you ever been discriminated against?
Absolutely. Before I met my lovely girlfriend, shout out to you, Jasmine. I was, dating around, and I remember.
Hey Jasmine, I just saw your picture too. Looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so, I was dating around, and I remember I met this one woman. And I, thought that we was gonna, make it work or whatever. I told her my status early on. After I got to know her and found interest in her. And I could tell immediately that she was kind of thrown off by it. I'm used to that. But she, was still talking to me. And then it was when she told her mom, and her mom was in a very, I'm still in the 80s mindset. Why would you date somebody that's telling you that he got AIDS? Oh, whoa. When did I have AIDS? Because I ain't never had AIDS. Right. So, at that moment, it was just like, oh yeah, I'm listening to my mom, and I'm kind of I don't know if I can really deal with that. And it was like, all right. And then I've learned too. Luckily, I've been kind of doing the self-love while I was an advocate, and I teach people this whenever I'm on tour. when it comes to HIV, you have to learn to love yourself a little bit more. You have to tell yourself, I deserve love, I deserve respect, I deserve to be treated fairly. So when she said that, I was like, okay,
No problem.
all right, that's it.
Because it used to be the mindset was like treated like a leper.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go over in the corner and die.
Yeah. And I looked at it as, you're looking at this one little piece of me, but you're forgetting that I'm a stand-up comedian. I play piano. I'm a poet. I'm a human. Yeah, I got all these facets about me. But you're looking at this one part that, one, I had no control over, and then two, I got under control right now.
Man, that's powerful what you just said, though. I had no control over.
Mm-hmm.
I had no control over.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I liken that to being born a woman or being born African American.
Yeah.
I had no control over the color of my skin. I had no control, so that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no control, and I did too. I had no control over this, but I got control over it now.
Yeah.
So when it concerns dating, how do you? What's the approach in for someone to accept? So in essence, your girlfriend now, so she understands, knows, and then knows too that. So can she get? And I don't want.
Absolutely.
I want to be respectful.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know that.
Yeah.
I want to be respectful. I don't want to. And if I'm honestly just. And I know I asked you to do this.
Sure.
But at this very moment, you know what I realized? Like, I'm really being educated, and I just want to understand.
Absolutely.
So can she?
This is what I do for a living. I get paid for this now.
And I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's nothing wrong with being ignorant.
Yeah.
Can she be infected?
So I mentioned the word undetectable. A lot of people don't know what that means. Undetectable means untransmittable. It also means that it is not affecting you, your day-to-day lifestyle. So because I'm taking my medicine, I'm lowering the amount of HIV virus to where it's not enough to hinder my work, hinder, my parenting, hinder anything, right? It also means that I don't have enough virus. There's literally a 0% chance to transmit it to anybody. Okay. All because now medicine has advanced. So I can even, a lot of people don't even know this, I can even have an HIV negative baby. I can, have sex without a condom and not worry about having to transmit because
it has lowered it to the point now that it's undetectable.
Yep.
So the medicines have advanced that because the biggest name that we all know is Magic Johnson, and one of the things I thought about because I used to ask myself, well, we used to say this, man, well, that's Magic, and the first thing crossed our mind, Magic's got money.
Yeah. And I tell people too, like, for one, Magic got money, but Magic ain't paying for this medicine. Neither am I. Because we have a thing called the Ryan White program. Okay. And a lot of people don't realize that Ryan White program means that if you're living with HIV in America, I'm not sure how it works for other countries, but in America, you don't have to pay a dime for medication. Yeah. Otherwise, it's $3,000 a bottle, $50 a pill.
A bottle?
A bottle. So I take 2 pills a day. That means I would be paying $7,000 a month.
Wow.
If it wasn't for Ryan White program.
Wow. Well, man, we just did an episode where we had politicians were here. Whatever y'all got to do, keep the Ryan White program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you have to do.
Absolutely.
Democrat, Republican, Independent, keep the Ryan White program. Yep. So you don't have to pay for your meds.
Never have, never will.
Wow, man. Praise God.
Yeah. So, yeah. And there was a time, too, where, this is when I was talking about being a Make-A-Wish kid, I was taking 10 pills a day. So I can only imagine how much that would have cost.
You were taking 10 pills a day?
10 pills a day. 5 in the morning, 5 at night.
Really?
Yep.
So it has decreased now from 10 a day to 2 a day?
Yep.
Simply because the medication has gotten better?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have to take 2 every day?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right before bed, and people will be like, "Oh," I tell people when it comes to living with HIV, a lot of people want me to be miserable. They want me to be sad. I'm like, I forget I have this thing until I take my medicine.
Before we did this, I thought about you, and you and I, we've known each other for some years, and I was trying to think about how did I know? And I remember you just telling me, in the midst of a conversation one time, like we might have been talking about a basketball game. Oh yeah, I'm HIV positive. And I'm like, dude, did he just?
Yeah.
For you, it's just.
Yeah.
And I remember
Easy.
you the way you told me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, hey, I need to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Got some news I need. No,
Mm-hmm.
you just, hey, I just want you to know I'm HIV positive.
Yep. My name is Andy Feds. I'm HIV positive.
And that was that.
That's it.
And we kept it popping.
Yeah.
And I think I may have asked a couple of questions like,
Mm-hmm.
oh really? So blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me I was born with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was
it.
and we kept it popping.
Yeah.
We kept hanging out. We kept doing what we were doing.
Yeah. Because I mean, it had no issues with it.
Like people want you to be miserable.
Mm-hmm. They want to be miserable. They want to be single. Because a lot of people were like, oh, or here's my favorite one that I get all the time. They want me to be gay. Because,
Okay.
it's very populated within the LGBT.
Yeah.
And when I tell people,
Okay.
hey, y'all, my name is Andy Fez. I'm the first ever HIV positive comedian. And they go, oh, you down low. Oh, you show us your girlfriend, but you got to be having sex with a man.
Wow.
Why?
Because you know what? Like I said, I'm just a couple of days older than you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when AIDS was really, and it was during the Reagan presidency,
Mm-hmm.
and it was viewed upon as a white.
It was
gay
called
man's
GRID.
disease.
It was called GRID, and I might be wrong on this, but I think it was called gay-related infectious disease.
It was, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was viewed upon.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point, there were some were saying they're getting what they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be real. People, they're getting what they deserve, and yada yada yada. And it was looked upon as a gay white man's disease.
Mm-hmm.
And the presidency of Reagan was criticized because it was viewed upon that he waited late
Mm-hmm.
to really jump in and talk about AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they did the giant quilt
Mm-hmm.
in D.C. and everything.
Yep.
So to this day, I'm
I still get it. I don't understand. I can literally kiss my girlfriend in front of them.
Needles, blood transfusion.
Nah, none of that matters. You having sex with a man.
It's got to be.
That's the only. Ignorance is ignorant. I remember the late great Heidi Broadbent, may she rest in peace. Her and I were close friends, and I remember she taught me something. She said there's dumb people and then there's ignorant people. The ignorant people you can totally teach. They'll learn all that stuff, but the dumb people, they're just lost cause.
You know what? And I don't want this word to be offensive. This is what I say to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can deal with ignorant people. I can't deal with stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stupid is just, it's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
You've already made up your mind that 4 + 4 is 9.
Yep.
I can't convince you.
Wait, what is it though?
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking
Sorry,
about?
I told you I was remedial in math.
You know what I mean? So they've already made up in their mind what they think, how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked. People are.
Yeah, still to this day.
You have to be gay to have AIDS or HIV.
Yeah.
So what age? And this is why I'm asking this. But what I know you said 5 years, but at what age was it crystallized?
I would say maybe close to dating age. Maybe like 9, 10 when I started liking girls and stuff like that. And just really kind of got a grasp on it. And then I think that's also when the internalized stigma started to reach me, where it was like, okay, I'm not going to ever date. I didn't date at all in my teenage years, simply because I was like, nobody's going to want me. Because I'm living with this virus, and we hear so much about this virus, and I heard classmates once be like, you coughing, you got HIV, and here I am with HIV in the classroom listening to that.
Okay, that was the question. So how, as a young man, I'm impressed by you just because that's a lot.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah.
Today we talk about your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But back then I can only imagine. So what, you 13 years old?
Yeah, hearing stuff like that.
13, and you know you're HIV positive, and so are you telling people? No one knows. It's a secret.
I thought of it like this: if I didn't see myself running into a burning building to go save you, you didn't need to know my status. Right. So close family, friends were the only people to know. I can probably count on one hand of my friends that knew before the Keeping It Positive movement.
Did the school have to know?
No, my grandma said she didn't put anything on my school records because I didn't play a sport. Okay. So I was. If y'all remember the show Bernie Mac, Yeah, y'all would think I was Jordan because I looked exactly like him, right? The big head, the glasses, skinny. So I wasn't playing no sport. I wasn't
What
getting
you
into.
talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I was. I remember kids used to literally come up to me and go, "Uncle Bernie, get out of my face."
You vexing my spirits.
And so, yeah, I didn't play any sports, so I wasn't doing really any physical activities to
Okay.
get myself hurt. So there was no need to put
Did
that on there.
now I just got to ask this question: did the law say that they had to,
Nope.
or do you have? So even today, do you have to? If you are a person that's HIV positive
hmm
and you're in school,
hmm
do you have to let the school know that?
No. Now they do have criminalization laws where you have to tell your partner. In some states, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Me personally, I tell people when I was dating, I would tell them as soon as I got to be interested in them because I didn't want there to be any issues. I didn't want them to be. I mean, me being a public advocate, I didn't want them to look
Yeah,
up my
yeah,
name and then here
yeah,
I
yeah,
come.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then also, I want to leave the door open for you to tell me what's going on with you.
And then, and let's be honest too. You just don't want to be that type of person.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to be that type of
Mm-hmm.
person. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? If you, I remember, man, when I was single,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out with this young lady,
Mm-hmm.
and I just dumped it all on her. Hey, I'm jacked up right here. I'm jacked up right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't tell any of the good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you all that's wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just me.
Yeah.
That's just how I'm built.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm one of those people. If you only want to be with me for the good,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to be with me
I
anyway.
like that. I like that.
That's just me.
Yeah.
So I would be, I'm this, I'm that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm this.
Yeah.
Now, could you, and I went out with this young lady, and we never spoke again,
Yeah.
and it was like cool with me
Yeah.
because if you're gonna be with me only for the good times, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to be with me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It reminds me of a thing, and I still do this to this day. World AIDS Day is December 1st, and
Okay.
every December 1st, I challenge anybody that watches my social media. And this is anybody that's watching this now. I dare you to go to somebody that you love and that you trust. Just spin the wheel on STD charts and say, hey, best friend, I got to let you in on a secret. I got insert STD here. Hold on to it for like maybe a week and it's a fake diagnosis, but watch how people treat you
Wow.
because you're going to get an idea of how people treat me, people like Hydea, Gina too, all these people that are living with HIV that are public. Watch how they treat you differently.
How are you treated differently?
A lot of it is, as I mentioned, people immediately think gay. Sometimes people kind of freak out, like if maybe I cut myself or whatever the case is. They might, be thinking I'm constantly sick. All the stigmas that we're used to. Oh, I don't want to eat off the same plate as you. I'd rather bring paper towel or paper plates, plastic forks, all those things. So. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
the
man.
stigmas, the stigmas are real.
Real, like
I tell people the stigmas.
People showing up at your house with their own plates.
Yeah, by all means. I don't want to do dishes anyway.
Coming to your house, they got their own forks and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. So
That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever dealt with discrimination in the workforce?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just
do you
because.
now with a job? Do you have to, or do you let them know intentionally, or
Not really. Just
Okay.
because it doesn't hinder my job at all, unless, like, for instance, maybe I might mess up and not do my medication refill, and I might say, hey, I'm living with HIV, just to show them the severity of, hey, I need to take off for this or whatever the case is. So, but other than that, no.
Wow. Okay.
Unless I need PTO and I just say, hey, my HIV acting up and I need to take off. I mean, that's just my lie. Sorry if my boss is watching, because yeah.
So how did you? In one of the things I hope someone sees now, your personality.
Mm-hmm.
In did you use comedy, or has this been a defense? Oh, I won't say defense, a coping
Mm-hmm.
mechanism to a certain degree.
Yeah. So I remember back when I was in high school, I was suicidal. I definitely had the survivor's guilt. It was the 10th anniversary of my mom, and I was just like, why was it her and not me? And then my grandmother put me into therapy. I think I went like 3 times. It was at a Catholic hospital, whatever. It was an old white lady, and I just didn't feel any connection with her. And I was just like, this is stupid. I'm not feeling it. And it was actually me coming to Christ that I was just like, Lord, help me with this. And then, I've learned to deal with it. But then when I got on stage for the first time and just made people laugh, it was just like, this is my therapy. This is literally the same thing. Me talking to somebody random, telling them about what's going on with me. And it was the same, feeling that I was looking for in therapy. I was like, all right, this is fulfilling. And then I love it. I love making people laugh.
You know what? I understand that totally. This is not a religious podcast.
Sure.
And the reason why I say that, because to me, religion is just a systematic way of doing things. And you can be deep religious and you're not dealing with real life. So how we met, I was your pastor.
Sure.
I ain't said that. I was your pastor. And I'm not pastoring at this moment because COVID hit with the church and everything.
Sure.
The reason why I'm saying all that, because I totally get it, because I miss preaching, because it was therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, to teach the word, and I didn't realize it until I haven't been preaching every Sunday. And there's so many things that can be therapeutic to you that you don't even know that are therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And comedy has been there for you. Wow.
That's why people always ask me, well, what do you do if you go on stage and nobody laughs? Don't matter. I'm enjoying I'm having the time of my life up there.
I said, I just make my set better. I go.
Yep.
So in essence, it's like because one thing I made sure I've always done with you, I've never treated you as an HIV patient.
Yeah.
It's like you.
Yeah.
So it's like as a comedian, if you go up there and you don't have a good set, it's not because I'm HIV positive. I just got to get a better set.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
So why if I have a set that's not good, that now my HIV status is coming? So do people do that? Do they if you get pulled over for a ticket, do people say, oh, so how's your HIV status because of the ticket? I mean, is everything thrown in?
I might have to use that now in case I get pulled over. Hey, officer, I'm just trying to go get my refill. That's it. But
you know what I'm saying? Do people throw everything?
From time to time, like people always, the question that I get a lot. So I do TikTok live a lot, and I'll get, I do a Q&A session. So I allow people to ask me any questions as long as it's respectful. And a lot of people very, as you say, ignorantly, not stupidly, but ignorantly, they'll ask, well, how long do you have to live? And I always do just like this because I'm like, I was born with it and I'm about to be 32. And so I think a lot of it is, I tell people that I'm going to die eventually. But
all of us are.
Guarantee you it's not going to be from HIV or AIDS. I guarantee it's going to be, good Lord, take me out however way he needs to, but it's not going to be from AIDS complications.
I am literally a little discombobulated and thrown at this moment, but good to hear, to know this. And what I think that in this age of technology and internet and so much information that's out here, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful of anyone that's watching or anyone that is, it's just amazing to me that people are still, and that's something I've had to accept and learn. I think me not pastoring for a while and working in corporate America and being around, let me just stop trying to be politically correct. Me being around people that don't care that I'm a pastor, don't care I'm a preacher, and that's cool. I've been just shocked at the level of ignorance on all levels, on so many things, whether that's HIV, AIDS, politics, life. And I think we don't have a lot of critical thinking anymore that looks to dissect information, which is social media, which is cool, but is also dangerous because people will believe anything. And so I'm shocked, and forgive me, man, I'm shocked that people are still with the 1980s mindset. The Ryan White, they didn't allow him, they didn't want him to come to school. Some of the teachers were talking about quitting, and we still have that mindset.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. It will take about 10 to 20 seconds to pull out your phone, go to Google, and type in, is HIV and AIDS the same? And we live in an era where we literally have a computer in our pocket and it takes 10 to 20 seconds to get your answers, but people still want to live in the mindset that we're still back in the 80s. Nobody wants to live in the mindset that science has advanced, medicine has advanced, people living with HIV are literally amongst you. A lot of people,
every day.
yeah, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'll never have sex with somebody with HIV." You probably already did. They just never told you. You might be living with your mom or your dad or whomever, and they never told you that they got
Why
diagnosed.
do you think that is? I'm just the mind, the level of and we keep saying the word, but ignorance, but
Hmm.
also I think, those saying ignorance is bliss. I
Hmm.
think the willingness to
Hmm.
be ignorant.
Hmm.
Why do you think that is when it concerns HIV and
I
AIDS?
tell people we live in a superiority complex. We live in in a mindset that, oh, my life is messed up, but it can't be as bad as this guy with HIV.
Mm.
And it's just like, no, we all are dealing with our own issues. And
So you having HIV makes me feel better about my situation.
hmm,
Mm.
yeah. And so I think we all handle our own situations differently. Somebody would, let's just throw out anything, high blood pressure, might be going through hell. Meanwhile, I got a great life going on with HIV right now.
Mhm.
So,
Well, listen, what we like to do, I'm just really enjoying this conversation. What we like to do is we like to ask people what are your thoughts on something? What are your thoughts on the subject matter? So the question that we ask people today is what is your thought process when it concerns HIV and AIDS? Watch this.
So I would say, in regards to HIV and AIDS, where we're at right now in our community, we're still lacking big time, whether it's with research, whether it's with resources, education. I would say, even though AIDS and HIV can affect any race, when it comes to Black, African American, and the Latino community, it definitely seems to be they're more affected. Just in 2022, they accounted for more than half of the new HIV cases. And I think that's got a lot to do with stigma, culturally, as far as a lot of people, the misconception that they feel that it's um, you know, that it's a disease that's related to a certain way of living. It could affect anybody, right? And I think that people need to be more educated on testing regularly, having more access to resources, just being more educated. So I think that out in the community, we really need to be better at that.
So HIV, which came about many years ago, was a huge fear in the community and continued to be a fear. And then people stopped talking about it when then AIDS came out and they confused AIDS and HIV. And unfortunately, the stigma is still in our community about HIV and how do you catch it, and can you touch the person, and can they be loved, or are you just going to stay away from them totally? And unfortunately, these people have learned to feel untouched, unloved, unwanted, and that is the wrong way to approach this disease process. We now have medications that people can live for a longer time with AIDS and HIV, and we need to support that decision. It's just like any other disease process. Diabetes, hypertension, COPD, it should be treated the same way. All of those people deserve love and attention, as well as HIV and the AIDS community. And they shouldn't have to be solo and stand alone with fear of being ridiculed or hurt because they're in the community.
All right, everybody. So that's what people are saying, and I heard you. I hope you heard what was said. It was some lovely conversations and things. What do you think about some of those comments?
I mean, she hit it right on the head that a lot of people look at HIV as biohazard, absolutely. Obviously, we should definitely protect ourselves from HIV and AIDS. But once we get diagnosed, like, yes, you can still live a long, healthy, happy life. And I think people kind of forget that.
What What is your support system? Um,
I call them my federation. Definitely people that follow and support. Family, of course, my girlfriend. I think I got a lot of people to support me.
and once again, this is a question. I don't want this to come across wrong or in ignorance. Are do a are, is there like a support group with other HIV and AIDS people, patient? I don't want to say
We
patients.
just call it people living with HIV.
Yeah, people living with
Yeah.
HIV.
Yes, absolutely. There is several
And
people
thank
on
you for
TikTok.
walking me through this, man.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got people that are on social media a lot. I mentioned Gina too, CCCI with C and then 6 I's after that. Of course, on there, and I can always name drop if anybody ever needs them. And then I actually created a Facebook group called Red Ribbon Community. And then in parentheses it says, wait, hold on, sorry, it's called. Let's reverse. It's called Blood Relatives, and in parentheses, Red Ribbon Community.
Okay.
So if you're on Facebook, you can obviously join that, and yeah.
Okay. So one of the things in doing just a little research, one of the things as you being an African American, I was a little blown away by some of the information. So I want you to hear, although African Americans represent only 12% of the U.S. population, Black people account for 39% of the new HIV diagnosis. 40% of the people living with HIV are African Americans, and African Americans are 43% of the deaths among people with HIV, other than dealing with other racial ethnicities and groups. The rate of new HIV diagnosis per 100,000 among Black adults and adolescents is 41.6%. Listen to this. It was 8 times that of whites, which is 5.3%. And twice that of Latinos, which is 23.4%. The rate of Black men, it is 66.3%, was the highest of any race, of ethnicity, and gender, followed by Latino men, and then second, the highest, they were the second highest group. And then, believe it or not, Black women are the next with 19.2%. So in essence, Black men, Latinos, and then Black women.
Yep.
I was. Do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've met several people along the journey, whether it be public advocate, whether they've just sent me a private message, and it has been a trend. A lot of it has been Black people and Latinos as well, and I've seen a disparity, I guess, for the lack of a better term, of community help. A lot of these communities, they don't have access to medications, or they have to. I mean, I was one of them. I lived in South Side of Chicago, West Englewood area. I had to drive 45 minutes to my doctor's appointment on the north side, where it was predominantly a white area.
And that's something. It's something I didn't say, but I read that too. That it likened it. It said one of the reasons is due to poverty, lack of ability to get to the man. And that still is into 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then it goes back to the whole hush hush movement that everybody's doing about not speaking up about sexual health. It was crazy to me. It's so backwards is that we'll brag about sexual health, or we'll brag about how much sex we have, but we won't talk about sexual health.
Do you think that's predominantly in the African American community?
I say it's everybody, but I think.
Okay, I'll take the heat.
Yeah.
I think it's, and I'm just tell you, every now and then, what I'll do is just turn on the radio station so I can hear what's out here.
Yeah.
And we still talking about licking, sticking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, oh man, this one here. It's sort of a dichotomy of thought where you have a radio station that can say, we're about the community and we're about positivity. Then the next song they play is I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna kill you. Let's go have sex with everybody.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
This is not adding up.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot. And I'm just being straightforward with you. And as an African American, and then I'll put it on a Caucasian station, you don't hear that.
Yeah.
And so it seems like to me, it's almost like we're yelling shoot in a crowded room. So we've got all of these major numbers in the African American community. We're the highest rate of AIDS, HIV, but yet and still we're still talking the same talk and possibly a little bit worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you see this in the community as?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely see like it's in everything, not just music, but TV, our black shows, and our media and movies, billboards, all is just sex, 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 sex. And for whatever reason, when it comes to black people, especially, I was on TikTok like a couple of months ago, and there was a black dude. 'Cause I, clicked on his profile. I was on live, and he goes, "Why are you talking about this? Shouldn't this stay in the bedroom?" I was like, "Why can't we talk about it? I'm not normalizing HIV and AIDS. I'm normalizing the conversations about talking about STDs and STIs."
I like that. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I love what he just said. Hear what he just said. What you just said was powerful. I'm not normalizing having this or
Mm-hmm.
being put in the situation
Yeah.
to attract it or
Mm-hmm.
or person to get diagnosed. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm normalizing the conversation that we have to talk about this
Mm-hmm.
because we got to deal with it still.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just put it under the rug.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, was it the Tuskegee, where they did the was it Tuskegee? They did the syphilis
Mm-hmm. I can't remember that.
on black
Yeah.
men,
Mm-hmm.
and I just when I saw those numbers, and I'm just being honest with you, man,
Mhm.
what crossed my mind was, to a certain degree, do you think because it's the black community that we're not dealing with it as much because it's black people are 8 times more being diagnosed?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a situation? And I'm just asking your opinion.
I'm
Yeah.
going to speak as a black man. I've seen a lot of straight black men not go to the doctor at all. And what people don't realize, what we didn't touch upon, is that symptoms of HIV, sometimes they can be flu-like symptoms.
Like a flu.
Yeah.
I read
Yeah.
that.
However, it can be asymptomatic. So you, as a black man speaking directly to, you might be having sex and you might be transmitting this virus that you didn't even know that you had. And from 7 to 10 years, it can be asymptomatic until about that 7th or 10th year, it turns into an AIDS diagnosis.
So my question directly though,
Mm-hmm.
do you believe, and I'm just asking,
Sure.
that the attention is not being given anymore to AIDS and HIV is
Absolutely.
because it's mainly the numbers are progressively worse in certain communities? So is the power structure in a position of, hey, it's not affecting us
Mm-hmm.
like that? And you think, and I'm just
I think, yeah, it definitely is all of that. But I also think that, granted, I'm very, very grateful that, I now live in an era where I see HIV commercials.
yes.
However, a lot of it is, if you watch it, it's usually black women, usually LGBTQ members.
And you know what? I was just about to real
Mhm.
talk now from a straight heterosexual man,
Mhm.
and no disrespect. I'm just giving an opinion. So if anybody's watching, I'm not saying this to be disrespectful
Mhm.
in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Mhm.
The HIV commercials, it seems they're geared toward the
Mhm.
LGBTQ
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
and transgender
Mhm.
and gay only.
Yeah.
And
And a black man will see that and be like, "Man, that ain't for me."
absolutely, and I've
Mhm.
thought that
Mhm.
and so when I read the numbers
Mhm.
and I put everything in context, I'm like, so but the community where the numbers are the most,
Mhm.
the commercials are not geared towards that
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
Is
I'll even peel a layer even further. When have you ever seen an HIV commercial about people that were born HIV positive besides
Never.
Idea Broadbent?
never,
Mm-hmm.
never.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people, when they see somebody that's openly saying, "Hey, he's living with HIV,"
You got to be gay.
you got to be gay.
And even in those commercials, because they don't say it
Mhm.
directly,
Mm-hmm.
but the commercials, and listen, man, let me say this. I want to look directly in the camera, but I'm gonna talk to you when I say this.
Sure.
Stop playing games. Let me say this. Everybody out here is not ignorant,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody out here is not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are intelligent, and we are we have the emotional and intellectual capacity
Mm-hmm.
to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give a commercial and you gear that commercial a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you say,
Mm-hmm.
you're gearing it.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, no, it wasn't directly, yeah, but you geared it
Mhm.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the commercials that I've seen are gay. There's two men
Mm-hmm.
together,
Mm-hmm.
or there's a transgender
Mm-hmm.
and someone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the whole vibe.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a vibe of you were born with this,
Mm-hmm.
you had a transfusion,
Mm-hmm.
or you're in the African American community.
Mm-hmm.
It is not.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Absolutely.
telling you from watching television,
Mm-hmm.
the commercials are all geared towards upper echelon,
Mm-hmm.
middle class, upper class America,
Mm-hmm.
and LGBTQ.
I'm in a
I'm just
no, absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. I'm in a group called the Lifetime Survivors. It's for people that were born HIV positive. And we were talking about how a lot of these movies, whether it be Philadelphia, whether it be Tyler Perry's Temptation,
Tom Hanks.
whether it be any of these things where they talk about HIV, they're always a victim. They're never the hero. They're never the love interest. They're always the victim. They're always sick. They're never like the protagonist that I'll save the day, even though I have HIV. No, there was always like this poor guy.
Never I was born with this
Mm-hmm.
and I'm stepping up to the plate
Mm-hmm.
to make life better for those around me.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And I think that also controls the narrative of
Wow.
when people see me, they're like,
Thought about that.
that
You're a
poor
victim.
guy. Yeah. That's why when people ask or come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you," what you sorry for? Did you do it?
So
Did
you
you have
can't-
sex with my mom?
So you
'Cause
can't be more than a conqueror.
right. Yeah.
You already know where I'm going with.
Yeah,
You can't-
absolutely.
You can't be more than a conqueror.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that so the mindset is, wow, brother, I've
Mhm.
never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
So you're the victim, you're gonna
Mhm.
live the victim, you're
Yeah.
gonna die the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And so it almost wow. So
Mhm.
we need more people like you.
Mm-hmm.
We need more people that are willing to stand up.
Yeah.
So what made you want to take up the banner?
I heard somebody not sorry, I was scrolling on Facebook and I'm not gonna mention the guy's name, but it's somebody I went to high school with, and he made a post or he shared a post where it was Magic Johnson hanging around a bunch of white women, and the caption said, "This was the fateful day." And immediately it just triggered me. It was
The
like
fateful day that
yeah.
he caught.
that he caught HIV. And it triggered me because it was like, do people not realize that all it takes is one time to have sex to get HIV, not having multiple partners? And so it was just like, all right, I need to do something to change this. I need to teach people like the true factual information, because you want to be the change that you want to see. I remember I graduated from Columbia College Chicago, the art school, not the smart school. And I had a hoodie that said "Create Change."
So you went to like Fame, the school Fame.
I don't know what that is.
You know what? I keep saying I'm a little older than you.
Okay. I was like, I thought we were breaking the fourth wall. I thought we were doing
But,
like that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Bro, you just dang. Fame was this show where there was an art school for dance.
Okay.
Look here, bro. Finish. We'll talk about that. I can't believe that just happened. Finish the statement.
I'll look into it. I'll look into it.
He just asked me, did I don't know nothing about Fame? Leave a comment for that one. All right, go ahead.
But yeah, I had a hoodie that said "Create Change," and like it just made me think back to that hoodie. Like, all right, are you just going to sit there and whine about people being ignorant, or are you going to create that change? Are you going to make people learn? And I feel like since I've been creating the Keeping It Positive movement, I've seen a lot of people step back on their ignorance. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. One, I didn't know that I knew somebody living with HIV. And then I didn't know that this person could do this thing with HIV and they can do this with HIV and so on and so forth.
My uncle died of AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
I had an uncle that died of AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pimp.
Mm.
And I don't mean he was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he was a pimp.
Sure.
That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, I think he took that approach that I said earlier. We never saw him.
Mm-hmm.
He disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my aunt telling me she was able to find the information. Her brother, my uncle, she was able to find the information. I think he was in Florida.
Sure.
And we never saw him. The last time I saw him, I might have been 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But that was that life that he was living. So it's back to that, ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about the Keeping It Positive movement. Tell us about it.
So it was, I'll tell you exactly how it happened. I was on Facebook and I just remember hearing a voice that said, "It's time." And immediately I was like, I knew what it meant, but I was like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Not me.
Yeah, nah, it's time for what?
Yeah,
Time for
yeah,
dinner.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I remember hearing him say, "Trust me, it's time." And I was just like, I knew immediately that was God, and I knew that He was telling me that it's time to speak up about my HIV diagnosis. And I knew exactly. I guess it was like we're about to order these steps. We're about to make it a journey. So I remember calling my cousin Tabitha, and I was like, "I'm
What's up,
sweating."
Tabitha?
Yeah, shout out to Tabitha. I was like, "Tabby, I'm sweating like R. Kelly at the Kids' Choice Awards." I throw a lot of R. Kelly jokes in there. Sorry.
Because he's from the shy.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, I think I'm about to share about my HIV diagnosis. She says, "Are you sure?" I go, "I think so. I'm scared. I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if people are going to treat me differently, but I'm going to do it." And I made a Facebook post telling people, "Hey, I was born HIV positive. I did comedy, but now I'm about to gear my HIV or my comedy material towards, perspective of somebody living with HIV." And it took me a while, but I pressed send.
He's like,
Yeah. And it took maybe about 5 minutes before all the flood of support came in. And I was like very surprised because I was definitely expecting the worst. And then, as I mentioned, when I did the material for the first time here in Vegas, I didn't get any type of response to it. And that's when it was like, all right, how do I constantly build on this thing? And it wasn't until, shout out to the Las Vegas Review Journal, they reached out to me because I was just constantly sending emails telling people, hey, this is what I'm doing. I remember contacting news stations, schools, newspaper articles, everybody that'll listen. And Review Journal reached out and it was like, we love your story. Can we publish it in our newspaper? And I just remember just advertising that, all on social media, and it just grew. I remember I meeting Alicia Keys, met Jennifer Hudson, like all these people. Both of them follow me now, which is crazy. I've gone on a tour nationwide, got into newspapers, and all because like I listened to God. God was like, trust me, and it was like, wow, you really said that you got me.
wow,
So
wow. There's, you know what? I'm afraid goes back to what you said earlier, that we look at the other person, their life is worse than ours. In hearing your story, there's no excuse for some of us. For some of us, and someone else is dealing with something that is greater, worse, and everybody's problems is their problem. But we can be encouraged to hear your story.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna get you out of here. I want to do you believe that the government is doing enough? And I don't know if that's a hot topic question, and
Sure.
I don't mean it to be.
Absolutely.
But
I think that we are definitely working hard because now we got stuff like Cabenuva, which is like the every 2 month shot for people that struggle with taking pills. And that wasn't a thing like 10 years ago. We got U equals U now, undetectable equals untransmittable. That wasn't a thing like 15 years ago. So I definitely think that we are getting somewhere. I think a lot more can be done, especially like I got a good friend who I mentioned earlier, Cece. Cece told her story about her being an HIV positive mother giving birth to an HIV negative baby, and she had to fight the government and fighting the doctors and trying to breastfeed this baby because they was like, well, you being selfish and we're going to call DCFS on you if you breastfeed this baby because you're putting that baby at harm. And she did it anyway and taught them that, yes, HIV positive mothers can't breastfeed. Yes, we can have babies. So there's still a lot of backwards thinking that, antiquated thinking, I would even say, that we still need to work on with the government.
do you think, in your opinion, do you think they'll ever find a cure?
I think we're getting close. I think that, knock on wood, that, I'm alive by the time we find it. So. But my thing is, I'm going to let people get in line first before y'all can go ahead and grow that third leg if y'all want to.
That's how people were about the COVID vaccine.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you take it first.
Yeah.
Once I saw a couple of people take it, I was like, okay, I take mine.
Yeah, that's exactly. 'Cause I'm like,
you said, I'm going to let you do yours.
man,
Once I see you here for a couple
I'll
of years.
be king of the pill for a little bit until y'all get a handle on that.
What do you think about Magic? I'm curious.
I think that he definitely stepped back a little bit from the HIV community. And I think we can kind of reel them back in, especially because we need voices like Magic Johnson.
And I'm very much in. I don't uncover people. I'm not a gossip.
Yeah.
It's just he's Magic.
Yeah.
He's a public figure.
Absolutely.
And we know him come. I still can see that press conference when
absolutely.
he retired from the Lakers. So we just need his voice.
Yeah, and him and all his other celebrity friends. I tell people this all the time.
You're right. You're right. I just had an epiphany.
Yeah.
If I saw a HIV commercial with Magic, I wouldn't think gay. And no disrespect. I'm sorry, man. I'm no disrespect.
Sure.
Homosexual.
Sure.
Gay. I don't.
Absolutely.
If I saw Magic, I would just think, hey, that's someone that had sex, or it could be any other.
Think about this.
Yeah,
as I mentioned.
You're right.
You're always around somebody that's living with HIV. They just never told you. What makes you think that there are not more celebrities than Magic Johnson that are living with HIV that just never said anything?
Please. Come on now.
So it's just like, it exists, but we just need people's voices.
Please. Now I don't want to go off on the deep
end.
On that one. Please.
Yeah.
We know.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, in closing, what would you say to anyone that's watching that they need to know about HIV and AIDS that they may not know? What would you say to someone?
I always tell people first that are diagnosed, thank you for surviving. Just because HIV is a mental hurdle over a physical one in 2024. Yeah. And so you definitely got to go through a lot of that. And then for the people that are not living with it, please educate yourselves. It's okay to learn. You learned it maybe 20, 30 years ago, but I got an iPhone 12 in my pocket that I bought in 2020. In 2024 now, we got iPhone 16, right? So just like an iPhone can advance, so can science, so can medicine. So yeah, do your part in learning. I tell people the cure to HIV is communication and education. Because once you talk about it and once you learn about it, we can decrease the number to where, HIV won't be transmitted anymore.
What is it like to live in 2024 as a 32-year-old African-American man with HIV?
It's a little startling. I wouldn't even say it's like upsetting, but I think it's more startling that adults don't know about these things that, are literally at our fingertips that we all have access to. I think that, we as adults should, as I said, do our part in learning.
Give everybody your info.
Yeah, y'all can follow me at AndyFedsComedy.com. That's AndyFedsComedy.com. You can find all my I got a podcast called Andy's Coming, where we talk about sex, relationships. See what I did there? Sex. Yeah, anyway. Relationships, parenting, marriage, all that stuff through the perspective of somebody living with HIV. We also have, as I mentioned, the Facebook group. I'm still doing shows. I'll be in Chicago next month, as well as Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Still moving and grooving.
Usually I close, and the guests usually don't say anything, and I close. If you need to say something, I want you to chime in.
Sure. Because
anyone that's watching me, if you believe that you may be HIV positive or anything, number one, and I depend on your expertise to say this. I would say first, go get yourself checked out.
Absolutely. Every 3 to 6 months. Do not wait in between relationships. That's the worst possible thing to do. Every 3 to 6 months, whether you're married or not, whether you're in a relationship or not, partners cheat. Partners don't know sometimes. So it's super important to know your status.
It's in my spirit to say this. That is one of the reasons why, for me, marriage was my thing. Because it's you don't know. We're living in a time where you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, marriage was the sanctity of I don't have to, because we're living in some, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so go get yourself tested if you believe. If you are a person that's having multiple partners, what would you, because what I want to say is don't. That's what I really want to say. Just don't do that. And it's not, for me, this is not a moment of faith for me. This is just a moment of logic.
Sure.
Just logical.
Yeah.
Just, hey, man, don't
Yeah.
don't do
Wrap
it.
it before you tap it. Don't be funky. Cover that monkey.
Man,
all
don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
do it.
If you do it, by all means, but just be smart about it.
Just come on.
That's the biggest thing.
Oh, and you just oh man, I got a joke in my head, but I won't go there. So, just and that's what I would say to anyone. Just and now this gets back to my faith. Now I believe that's why God is so much bigger and smarter than us. He knew, hey man, just be with this one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get yourself together.
Yeah.
And be with that one person. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Find you somebody that can deal with you and you can deal with. Y'all go through the. You and I were having a talk before we started recording. We were just saying, find you somebody you can be with, can be with you. Y'all walk this walk together.
Absolutely.
And learn and grow. Be with each other.
Yeah.
Because it's just. Living in Vegas too, man. Man, I've seen some things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hey, to anybody that's watching, also, I'm sure, you know what? I'm gonna say this, and I don't want this to be, but I'm gonna say this. I reached out to local AIDS and HIV organizations. Not one of them returned. Not one of them. I reached out to like 3, not because I wanted to get their professional opinions on some things. Not one of them reached back out to me, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I get on them. I'm a big brother. They know who I am. Y'all know who y'all are. I ain't gonna mention y'all.
That was very disappointing.
Yeah.
and I think because I sent the emails and what I said, I'd like to get you a professional and it's a pod. I think when you say podcast, people automatically, it gets back to if you have AIDS, you must be gay. And I think if you say podcast, people think you're talking foolishness.
Yeah.
And I want to come on here. No, we want to get positive information out here.
Yeah.
So it was very disappointing.
Sure.
That no one.
Yeah, next time throw my name out there. They know who I am out
Got
here.
you.
So, can I mention with the testing thing? I always mention this. If you are afraid to get tested, send me a message. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You can go to my website and find all my social medias. Send me a message. I will do a video call with you for absolutely free. I'm not asking for no type of money because I know how people might be afraid to get tested, and I know they might need that comfort of somebody. So I'm always available to.
So I'm gonna take you in and walk with you.
Absolutely.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, love you too.
Love you, brother. Listen, I hope that you've been blessed by this conversation today. I know I have. I've enjoyed this. Man, I appreciate you. Hey, Andy Fez, he's doing his thing. God bless you all. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family. And please remember this. Get out of the ignorance and get out the cage. God bless. We'll see you next time.